Hey, Crystal.
Yes.
I have to confess that I am an astrology dum-dum.
Oh, me too.
And that's why I'm so excited about Light Shine Academy's upcoming astrology workshop.
Ooh, is that the weekend workshop taught by Alicia Clark-Teper, where we're going to learn how to plan our year by the stars?
I mean, the stars know who you are.
They know who I am? Then by all means, please join us for this fun, educational, and informative weekend workshop.
Astrology Empowered by the Cosmos, a fabulous live weekend workshop taking place February 26th and 27th, 2022. 2 immersive and attuning days, teaching you to forecast and plan your upcoming year using your solar return chart. Now, this is a technique you can use for the rest of your life. Go to class.lightshineacademy.com/astrology and register now. It's going to be magical.
Know that you can pull an astrological chart to help you to plan your whole year. It's called your solar return chart. It's exciting. I'm very excited about it, and we learn about it in this conversation with Alicia Clark-Teper. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life YouTube channel. This channel is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host here. My name is Tricia Carr. I am an astrological dum-dum. I am. But, you know, that's only, I guess, in relation to the fact that I'm a spiritual teacher and intuitive. And I'm just really excited and always learning about all kinds of other esoteric and mystic topics. But astrology for me, I feel like, you know, it's not my strong suit. I love learning about the top 3, the sun, the moon, the ascendant. I use that information with my clients, with my students. But, you know, it's it can be a very complex system, I think. But this that we learn about from Alicia Clark-Teper, the solar return chart, I get it. I really, really get it. So this is an excerpt from my podcast, my full-length podcast, which you will find the link in the description. But before I get there, let me say, please do like, subscribe, share, comment, click the little bell so you get notifications for when I have more of these videos, both that are conversations that are excerpts from my podcast and other things that I'm teaching about for free for you because I love you and I want us to connect. This is an excerpt from that full-length conversation with Alicia Clark-Teper. She is an intuitive astrologer, Reiki Master teacher, certified Moonologer. Ooh, I love it. And, you know, if you want to hear the whole conversation, which we have the best time, we're looking at a little bit at her chart, a little bit at my chart, talking about different archetypes and you know, Mercury Retrograde and blah, 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 blah. Find the link to the full-length podcast in the description. So please have fun with Alicia and me in this excerpt, my fellow sister Reflecta, which I'll tell you about on the other side. Well, Alicia, my fellow Reflecta.
Yes.
We don't know what's going to happen here, y'all. We're a little concerned.
Excited.
Yeah. I'm going to start you off with something. Did you realize? So reflectors are 1% of the population, right?
Correct.
And you probably know this. The moon is 1% the mass of the Earth.
Oh, I did not know that we were in the correlation of that. What boggles my mind more about the 1% is that it's still 3 million people.
It would be like 7 million, wouldn't it? Because we're about 7 billion.
Sorry. I guess I'm a little behind the times.
I'm not so much
people on the planet.
There's we're getting close to 8 actually, but still,
that's 8 million people. That just seems so much more than what 1% would be.
Well, yeah, we've got a lot of people here.
We certainly do. Yeah.
But I'm probably the only reflector, you know, and you're definitely you know, that I know of. I know. Have you seen this? Okay, everyone, we're going to get to you here in a second, but did you know that like right now we are in a cycle where I think it's about 3 years where there are no reflectors being born? And it would make total sense to you as an astrologer, if you think about it, because it's planetary alignment. So the last day or time period that they were being born was, I think, 2020, maybe June of 2020. And the next possibility for reflectors to be born is November, I think, of 23. So it's approximately a 3-year period. And then, and then it's just like, it's not like it's always 3 years on, 3 years off or anything like that. It's all kinds of alignment that makes it possible. And right now we are currently, and I don't know how long it is, in a manifesting generator birth cycle. So they're all mani-gens coming in. Interesting, right? But and then at the same time, as an astrologer, it makes sense to you, I'm sure.
Well, I understand the concept of reflector, but I haven't gone so far into like how they are set up in birth timing. And so I find that even more interesting that it would be just a bulk of people instead of more like a confetti mix of.
That's what I assumed too, but it has to do, I guess, I can give you, I have a calendar, and not a calendar, but like a data sheet, really. It's a spreadsheet of all of the time periods, all of the time frames of reflectors being born since like 1930 until like 2050. I can send it to you. And that way, because so for me, I'm like, well, I know my mother-in-law's birthday, but I don't want to ask her birth time because I don't want to get into it. So I just went and looked up her. Okay, well, at least she's not a reflector. Anyway,
our sneak days.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get to you, Alicia Clark-Teper, astrologer, intuitive, just so wise. What a wonderful Virgo, double Virgo. And a reflector, and you have a workshop coming up that we're very excited about, but I really want everyone to get to know you. So could you please share with us your journey, the work that you're doing, what you're excited about in all of it right now?
Well, thank you so much, Tricia, for having me today. To get started, my journey began back when I was 9 years old. My father had a picture frame and art gallery, and actually still does, but it was across a major street from this place called the Alhambra Institute. Okay. And they produced these manila horoscope journals. All right, not manila, marigold. It was this really orangey yellow color. And it was my task to go. I was old enough to go across the major street and get this circulation that they gave away free every month. And so, it was the highlight of me going in. And I would go in and then I'd read it page to page to page at 9 years old, not knowing what retrogrades were, not knowing anything. I just had to eat it all up. And I was too timid to ask anything at the time in the Alhambra Institute. Being raised Catholic, there was no divination or talk about that. So I just go in all wide-eyed and look. And I remember seeing the platonic solids, all the little made of crystal. And I was just so enamored by it. But then again, just awestruck. So dating myself a little bit, in 1992, I wrote on a 3x5 card all my birth information, and I put it in an envelope with a returned, addressed, stamped envelope and sent it off. And about 4 months, it took 4 months for me to get my chart back. And it finally arrived. Yeah, because they had to do it all by hand back then. So,
oh my gosh. They draw the whole thing? Yeah, and now you do it in 2 seconds. Yeah.
Now you go in and astro.com just miraculously pops it up. But it took 4 months for that to happen. And then I received it back. And I didn't have anyone, I wasn't brave enough to ask for an interpretation. And so when you get your birth chart for the first time and you look it over, you're like, well, why don't I have, there's only 10 planets and there's 12 houses. So there's odds are you're going to have some spots that have nothing in it. And mine was like the house of marriage and the house of career. And I'm like, how am I not going to have a marriage or a career? What is this?
What am I?
My gosh. And the no children. I'm like, no children, no marriage, no career. How does that turn out?
I'm just going to live in my mom's house.
Yeah, no doubt. In a van down by the woods, or down by the river. And so I folded it up and I put it away and I just went on with the basics of astrology. And then again, in about 2002, you were able to now pull it on the internet. So I pulled it again and it was the same. And I was like, how can it be the same? I just don't get that. And again, not wise enough to seek out the counsel for it. And then the third time, as is usually the charm, I finally had it read, and I had it done again and then read, and lo and behold, I signed up for astrology classes immediately and have not stopped since. And that was in 2016. So
wow, you've actually come a long way. But you see, when you're little, when you were 9, it was really implanting. What is the Alhambra Institute, though? Like, what do they do? Are they metaphysical or
it
astrological?
was a psychic back in the day.
Okay.
It was the lower level, so you had to go subfloor, and yes, the place to go seek out counsel in the psychic arts. So
that's cool. But that's really interesting, because I do think that those seeds were planted. Did it feel like that when you opened it up more fully in 2016? Like, oh, I get this. I've already learned this somehow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even at 9, I felt that it was just something that I had already because you don't have the application at 9, your life experiences are not as vast as as when you're older. But as they started to pick up, I just it and then astrology and my understanding of astrology has started me to just now absolutely adore talking about it and watching the cycles of life now, instead of feeling like a victim of fate. I now watch the cycles of life
yes,
come to life. So.
And you do have a career, and you have a partner, right? You have a marriage too?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, good.
No children. Still no
know.
children, but yes. But I do have a career. I do have a spouse.
Yeah.
And so for those of you who ever pull your chart, know that those are just the areas that don't have planets, are not the main focus.
Interesting. So then what revealed, but you do have career, and it is important to you, and you do have a spouse, and of course spouses have to be important in order for it to continue. So how do you kind of feel your way around something that's more important than that? Or what does that feel like to you? Another area that is important compared to those two?
Well, when you have your chart, and I always keep going back to the circle, because in the Western tropical astrology, it's a circle. But if you were studying, there is another kind called Vedic that comes in a square. The importance, so where you have a cluster of planets, really makes the focus of your chart. So I personally have a major focus in the first, second, and third house. So 7 of my planets are there, and it's like a big arrow. So I'm the focus. I'm not supposed to. I don't have children, so I'm always consistently by my family. Oh, it's all about Alicia. And I'm like, well, who else is it supposed to be about? Right.
Well, and then if we weigh that against the whole reflector thing, it's funny, because I don't know about you, when I first got the information about being a reflector, I hadn't heard about human design yet. Actually, she had come to one of my classes. She was my friend's friend. She's like, I want to see your human design. I was like, sure. And I gave her my information, and she goes, oh, you're a reflector. And I was like, okay. Because they'd already said some other words I didn't understand. And she's like, see all of this? These are your chakras, and they're all open. And I was like, okay. And then she showed me my friend's chart, and it was like, doot, 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 doot. And I was like, wait, so I'm not a person? That's my first question. I don't even exist. That's what it felt like to me. But then you have this other thing that's like, this other indication.
Well, and especially for the reflector, is that the part that I find most interesting is that we're supposed to wait 28 days to make a decision.
A major one. I mean, not little things, but yeah.
But in today's day and age, waiting 28 days to do anything, I mean, is very challenging. So yes, I've learned to watch the moon cycles, and as the moon cycles through, even on a daily basis, because each different hour has a different planet that's set up for you. So,
and we have to move through all of those to understand how things are correcting in our alignment or something like that.
Yes.
And you already were, before you knew about being a reflector, you were already a moonologist, yes?
Yes.
I thought so. I mean, I assumed so. So tell us about the moonology and what that learning and, work is like for you.
Well, with the phases of the moon, it allows you to plan, and I won't say predict, because there is
Mhm.
no way to predict anything. Fate and free will have
Sure.
their say, but it gives you more of a cycle and helps you to realize that it's not just um, this one opportunity that we have to do something. It's that we're given this spot and this time to focus on it. And if it's not in alignment, or we've decided that we're happy with the way that we've chosen to work on something right now, in the moon's timing, it may be 6 months before you see the seeds finally starting to sprout from what you put in today. Well, I should say yesterday, because we had a new moon yesterday. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so what you put in yesterday now will sprout in August. And so as you watch these rotations, and I feel kind of like I'm mixing beaters here right now, the old school kind, but it creates the cycle, and the
Mhm.
cycle is never ending with the moon, and it moves so
Mhm.
quickly that it keeps us on track, and hence
Mhm.
that women have moon cycles and everything.
Mhm.
And once you sync that up, you then have a greater chance of manifestation as well.
And so we're talking about the moon, but with your astrology workshop that is coming up, the dates are the February 26th and 27th. It's a weekend workshop. If you're listening some other year, 2022. And that is actually what you're going to be teaching is about how to use your chart, or how to look
Yes,
at it to actually plan your year. And that's
absolutely.
the astrological chart. Is the moon in there as well? Because that's what I was just picking up on. Tell us about what that's going to be like.
Well, the workshop is all about how, okay, so you have a birth chart
Mhm.
with you for your entire life. And then you also, every single year upon your birthday, when the sun gets to the exact degree of your birth time, you then populate a brand new chart for that year.
Ah,
So
yeah.
that chart for that year, I am naturally a Virgo sun and a Virgo rising.
Mhm.
And so this past year of 2021, I actually am, of course, my Virgo sun, but then I'm a Leo rising and a Leo moon.
Ooh,
So
hot.
it's given me a different flavor. And one of the things I noticed, hands down, about that is that my body temperature, usually I'm freezing cold.
Mhm.
And this year, with having the double fire, I'm we're in snowpocalypse right now. I was walking around in a tank top today. I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome being a Leo. I can not have on 17 layers of clothes right now."
Oh
So
my gosh. But I
so
didn't know that. I didn't know you had this I mean, it's sort of it's like superficial, right? It's not like it didn't really change your Virgo ascendant entirely. It's almost like it's just almost like a layer, right? For this
well,
year?
yeah, it's like I accessorized in
Right.
this fashion for the
That's what I
year.
mean, like, but you're still fundamentally, your birth chart, you're a Virgo ascendant with the accessories of a Leo, right?
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
let's say you have
Exactly.
on the Virgo clothes with a Leo adornment.
Yes, yes. And
We're talking about
so
ascendant.
that's how the energy will flow through you for the year.
Mhm.
So that's why
Yeah.
one year you may have, you may notice that every picture you take, you've got beautiful hair and your makeup's done perfect and everything looks great. Another year, you may avoid all pictures. You may not want to be having anything done, and it may just be a tying your hair up in yoga pants all the time
And what
because
about
you're
like, or maybe you gain a little weight because you need some grounding. That might be something if you put on
yes.
an earth sign that year, huh?
Exactly. And so it's the different feelings of it. And the only reason I can completely attest to the fire sign or the double fire sign is because I know that I'm cold. And so that was when a treat. Um, I can say for myself, being a double earth, when the water sign comes around, I do tend to have a lot more emotion coming through. And then when I've noticed, because once you start looking at the patterns, you can then go backwards in time and kind of link up what happened then and see how what happened in the past can then lead you to how things are going to come up into the future.
Well, I see that with numerology too. Do you do?
Ooh,
Yeah.
No.
You don't.
Nope.
You act like it's a devil's work.
Well, the way that I play with numbers in astrology is completely different than the way that you do numerology. Now it's not devil's work, and it's
I know. I was only kidding. You went, oh no, like you were scared.
Well, because there's like numerologists, and then there's like the astrology way of numerology. So every planet has a significance with the number system as well. And so, but it's mostly based on the numbers, and then it corresponds with the degrees. And so as a planet goes on, like right now, Uranus is about to move to 11 degrees. That's the planet of Chiron, well, the asteroid of Chiron, and who is our inner wound, the thing that happened to us in childhood that always brings in that soft spot where you're like, I don't really like that. But and so Uranus is the planet of innovation. So now the two of them are going to come together, and he's going to help you to release some of that wounding that we have. And so as each planet moves to a different degree, they correspond to different planets, and they work in a different harmony together. And that's also the way that our birth chart and the chart I was talking about before was a solar return chart.
Yeah,
cool. We're going to be focusing on. And so the solar return and the birth chart meld together, because you're always going to have your birth chart. But then as the energy comes in for your solar return, it lays over top, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's going to give you a flow chart for how that energy works for the whole year. So if all your planets are on one side, you know there's going to be a strong focus in this and during this time. If they're all spread out everywhere, you know that you're constantly going to have things coming and going for the year. So,
oh my gosh,
that's cool. You need a plan. So, in talking about how different charts can be, I get this book made up for me every year, and it's got every transit that possibly happens for my own personal birth date and time.
How do you get it made up, though?
It's called Honeycomb Collective, and it's the best thing ever. The book costs $48. That
sounds worth it.
And you get to customize it too. So there's like different artists and different things that you can include. So it doesn't have to be this thick, but I
love it.
Different things. So this is, let me just make sure I'm getting the light right here.
Yeah, that looks good.
So this is my chart natally. So I have this big arrow right here that's pointing towards me. And the reason I say it's pointing towards me is the first 3 houses of your birth chart all deal with you. The first one is you and your body and how you respond and how you act and how you talk and how you walk and how you dress and how you just everything of you and the outer persona in your body. The second is your morals, your ethics, your values, your resources, and how you draw money to yourself. And then the third one.
Is that the midheaven? Midheaven?
No, the midheaven is all the way up at the top.
That's career. Yeah.
Yes. And then the third house is your local environment. So that's going to be your neighborhood. And then it also has short-term travel, as well as aunts, uncles, siblings, and communication. So that is my natal chart. And then I just want to show how different it is to have your solar return chart. So it's kind of, it's like oblong. It's like scattered a little bit, but it's oblong. It's like on two opposing sides. It's a little more open, but then 2 opposing sides. If we made it, it's more weighted. Yes. So the shape in it completely changes. And I have a lot more interactions is probably the easiest one-word way to say it, with all of them going around the circle, whereas on my natal chart, having everything over in the one area, has a much greater focus on myself. So for my entire life, it is all about myself and the reflection out in the world. And then this year, I have a lot more going on between me and others, and how the community and everything comes together.
Well, and you're a Leo ascendant right now, so it makes sense, because you're like, you need to engage and you need to light some things on fire.
Exactly. And I need to be when you have a Leo moon, it's a little well, as you think of a Leo or a tiger or a lion, you have that lure because they're beautiful, majestic animals, but then you also have that little bit of bite on you too. So
I'm a Leo rising, you know that?
yeah. Oh, I love it. Yay.
Yeah,
Well,
I can imagine,
like
like
the name.
Yes, but I've a lot, actually, most of my adult life I've had very short hair, but still, it doesn't matter. But I do have a mane right now, and it turned like white, like a white lion. Well, let's
Beautiful.
let's look at mine, okay? If that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Absolutely.
Is that
So
that look? Oops, that made you go away. There we
yes,
go.
that is your natal chart. And so with the natal chart, you have these shapes that go on in it. And in the middle, you have a great big triangle. The blue lines are harmony, and they are ease, and they are flow. And the red lines are what are considered more challenges or hurdles throughout your time, or periods of growth, ways that you're allowing expansion in your life. And so you will always have this natally. And then when you switch into your solar return chart, right?
It's all on one side.
Yes. And
it's
so
really concentrated. Oh my gosh. What does that mean? That's scary.
Well, so this actually leads to the live that I did in the lab this morning, and how I was explaining some of this information. So in specific, right now, we have 4 planets in Capricorn. We have 3 planets in Aquarius. No, 2 planets in Aquarius and 3 planets in Pisces. So that gives us just this small area to work with on the chart. And that just means that there's an extreme focus. And for you, where the focus is going to be at is going to be more out in the community, the way that you are out in the world. Because if you were to take this big circle and you were to cut it into 4 pieces, the first piece, which would be let's go with directions. It's going to be the lower, lower quadrant. Yeah.
Like 7 o'clock? Like 7 o'clock on the clock?
Thank you. Yeah. Like 7. I was trying to figure out which way to get to it.
6 to 9. 6 to 9.
The 6 to 9 o'clock piece is going to be all about you as an individual and how you are out in society, and the way that it is the essence of you. And then when we go into the 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock position, because in all actuality, they go in that direction. So they work counterclockwise.
Okay.
The 6 to 3 o'clock position is actually you and your family dynamic. And so when it comes into the 4th house, which would show the Cancer symbol in here, the blue pieces down on the bottom, that one starts with your family, and then it moves into any children or romances that you would have, and then it goes into work and how you keep your routine. And so again, that's you and starting out in the world and how you work with others. And then when you move up from the 3 to the 12 o'clock position, then we get into the actual you in relationships with other people.
I got nothing.
So we were talking about that earlier. Remember when I was like, I'm not going to get married? The 7th house, which you have Libra in the 7th house, has nothing. So in essence, you would have thought potentially, I'm not going to get married. What's this? And so it's just that's not your focus. So
not the focus for this year, starting on my birthday. Okay. All right. Sorry, honey.
But so where I'm really getting at is now we're finally in the 12 to 9 o'clock area. And that is all about greater society and yourself.
Interesting.
So when you're back in the section that is from 3 o'clock to 12 o'clock, it's the relationship that you have with individual people.
Mm-hmm.
And when it moves from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock, it is the greater whole of people, more of a societal effect. And as you can see, you are much more focused on the greater population in the world in this coming year.
Wow.
Whereas in the other chart, you would definitely are more focused in a overall aspect, as you can see that their planets are well distributed around the grid.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting. Can you see here with my solar return if I have a different set of clothes or a different moon?
Yeah, so your ascendant is going to be basically like you're still going to have the fire ascendant because you have an Aries as your ascendant for 2022.
Yikes.
But it's going to be much more of an initiator energy and the want to start things. Hey, everybody, I've got great ideas. Listen to me. And so this might be a time where you start a new workout routine for yourself, or you decide that there's going to be a new method that you use in order to.
There so is. And it's been taking me like months to sort out. And it's probably going to start sorting out in a month or two, which would be my birthday.
So yeah, and then that will be the energy for the whole year. So you'll ride that Aries, and that Aries is so again, there's 12 pieces, and the Aries is the first piece, and your natural Pisces is the last piece. And so you in moving into the Aries, it's the new. Everything to an Aries is a very new aspect because they're the very first one of the chart. Yeah. Where many things for a Pisces, you're like, oh, I know
they're done that.
Yeah, because in order to be a Pisces, you've already experienced the majority of the rest of the chart in the idea of other lives and other things. So
yeah. What about my moon? Do I have a different moon this year?
I was just looking for that. Okay. Yes. So your moon, although the one thing I noticed for your 2022 is that your ascendant is still a fire sign, your moon is still an earth sign, and then of course your Pisces is still the same. So natally, I saw that you had a Capricorn moon, but this coming year, you're going to have a Virgo moon.
Oh, cool. That's cool. And my ascendant is very close to Virgo, and I have a great affinity for Virgo as an archetype. My favorite sister's Virgo, and just some of I admire Virgo so much. So I think I'm going to feel right at home with it. That's good. Yes. I like it.
So the one thing for the Virgo is you are going to be very in tune to your body this year. So Virgo is really the embodiment of the body as a whole.
Yeah.
And also natural type medicine. So it may be more for yourself to seek out, whether it's I don't know if you do acupuncture or you like the chiropractor or a naturopath or many different types of natural medicine.
Yeah. And I do have, I should give them a plug, Parsley Health. And I think that's pretty much, at least anywhere in the United States, it's telehealth, but they also have clinics but it's integrative. And so I've started with them, like ordered some testing, and it's probably going to start actually coming into practice in March or something. That's so amazing.
Isn't it just funny, ironic on how that does play out? But it leads me back into talking about those moons. Yes. So you actually set these things in motion probably about 6 months ago. Yeah.
I did. Yes, absolutely. I started thinking about them. I think I started with Parsley Health. It's 4, maybe 6 months. And meanwhile, I'm like, why am I not moving faster getting this thing done? It wasn't their fault. It was mine. But I'm just getting aligned to
all the right timing. Yeah. And so with that 6 months, now you're seeing them percolate 6 months later and how that plays out. And so with all that condensed energy over onto the one side of your chart now as well, is that in the idea of your solar return chart, each pie piece represents a month.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start your birthday, where your ascendant would be in the Aries time, you're actually going to work your way all the way back around. And so the real busy part of your year is going to be coming up to your birthday in 2023.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you have all of that on the one side.
Right. Now, and I'm sure there are years where you're kind of like more evenly dispersed. Does it feel balanced? Does it feel overwhelming? I mean, of course, shadow, you could take it one way or the other, but generally speaking.
So it's the same thing with like divination. You have the circle and the way that it goes, but then it flows in a pattern. I'm not sure I'm connecting
I get it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And so with that pattern, it allows you to see that when you have the spaces that have nothing in them, it's not that nothing is going on, it's that you're the observer of things more. You're not the crucial player in it.
Right.
It may be going on with your sister. And I say it because it depends on what house and it depends on that. So I just use the general it. So it could be going on with your sister. And so you have a role in what it is, but you're not the one who's the decision maker. You're the supporting cast.
Interesting. So, and that's especially like if it were a bit more spread out, if your solar,
well, that specifically is if there's nothing in there. So like we were talking about before,
right,
but if it's sprinkled throughout the chart, it just means that you're going to at this specific time concentrate more on this. And at this specific time, you're going to have a concentration more on this. Whereas when yours is all in that one sector, your concentration is going to be much more impactful with a lot more moving parts to it at that time as well. And there could be potentially, depending on which planets it is, actual individuals that come up who help you with it, or like I saw where your moon was at happens to be in the 6th house, which is the 6th house is of routine, but it's also of being of service and of doing the work and showing up and also having employees. So there could be potential if you consider having an employee this year. And so a lot of that just depends on where things are placed in terms of planets, and that gives you an idea of how that will play out. Yeah.
This is so fascinating, and I can't wait for the workshop because I'm going to eat this up with a spoon. This like really, okay, everyone, I'm kind of an astro ding dong. I've always thought of myself as that. I don't know. It's like really beautiful and complex and rich, and maybe I feel intimidated by it, but I have gotten into the top 3, and I've been really grasping that about myself and, the people who are close to me. And when I work with clients, I look at the sun, moon, and ascendant and really kind of feel into that. But this, for some reason, I'm very excited about. I'm so glad you're teaching it.
Well, the part that makes this almost fail proof is because it changes every year.
Yeah. Which is exciting.
So you don't have to memorize this and you don't have to memorize that. And I'm not in there there's no calculations, there's no math that's going on in what we're doing. We're working on an energetic level, feeling into what fire signs feel like, and water signs, and earth signs, and air signs. And so then we can bring in the yin energy and the yang energy and feel the difference in each of the signs. And then we're bringing in the planets after that. And then we'll pick up the chart and show the flow around the chart and how each piece is going to come together. Now, with astrology and why people feel like it's something that is over their head is because it's like, don't cringe, but it's like math. And this is only in similarity, is that there's algebra, there's geometry, there's trigonometry, there's calculus, there's
I don't know. I love geometry. Like geometry I loved. I remember when I took geometry, which by the way, yes, but it was so metaphysical to me. And I should say that my geometry teacher in high school was my drama teacher, who I already loved. So might have something to do with it.
Drama and math. Wow, how multifaceted.
He's a very cool dude. He also taught calculus. He taught drama and calculus, and then he taught geometry.
Wow.
But anyway, with geometry, it was so metaphysical for me because when we talked about how a point was infinite, and I was like, I can imagine it, and it becomes a line, and then the line is infinite, so it becomes a plane, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it blew my mind. So I guess that's why I liked it. But I enjoyed the whole process, all of the work in geometry. So is astrology like geometry maybe?
Well,
and I could like it?
Well, there is potential because there's shapes and there's things being drawn within the grid, but the correlation I was making between math was that there's all these different kinds of math, and you may only get to knowing algebra. It doesn't mean that calculus doesn't exist and there aren't ways that you can learn to the calculus level, but the way that I'm choosing to break down astrology is so that you have this tool to use every year, and it's just one specific facet of it.
Yeah, right. And you get to use it over again. That's what's so cool about it. Yeah, every year. And not only every year, but obviously, I mean, you can look at your year, but then you're going to probably like focus. Okay, this is what's coming up. This is where I am now, and so it's a way to keep. It's so fresh and interesting. I'm very excited about it.
Well, especially if you are a planner at all. Okay, going back to the fact that I'm a double Virgo, I kind of plan.
And so, of course, this is what you want to teach.
So this is why it just jazzes me so much, because it gives you the idea, if you know that Mercury is going to be the one who's ruling your chart, and we'll get into who becomes the ruler and stuff, but and you hear that Mercury is going retrograde, you know that it's more likely that it might affect you this year. Whereas if the sun is ruling your chart, then Mercury retrograde isn't going to be as, not that they don't matter to everyone, but it's not going to be as big of a player in your chart.
Yeah, you got that life force energy from the sun pumping you up.
Exactly.
Yeah, you might need to sit down a little bit. Mercury retrograde usually tells me where the flaws are in my technology. You knew it was time to get a new phone. It's nobody's fault but yours.
Mine seems to be like, oh, did I send out that email? Oh, look, it's in my drafts. I did not actually get it out. So
I feel like the fairy realm really gets super pumped about Mercury retrograde because they're like, sweet, we get to mess with them.
And play the little havoc in the life.
And just sit back and laugh at us.
And speaking of that, Mercury goes direct tomorrow. So we're on our way out of that. And I've mentioned before, when we have all planets direct, which is happening this month.
Wow. Really?
All February, all March, and the majority of April.
Wow.
It's really asking us to move into uncharted territory.
Very
because cool. when all the planets start to do their retrograde, it's then asking us to go back over what we've already known. So over the next 3 months, learn new things.
I'm getting chills. I'm getting the chills. I'm getting the spirit chills. And so when Mercury goes direct tomorrow, is that the last planet to go direct and that's it? We're ready to go? We're hitting the ground?
Well, we hit the ground, and with retrogrades, what happens is...
Well, there's post-shadow, yeah.
Correct. So you have a space that the planet travels to, and then it decides to go backwards. And so once Mercury goes direct, it still has to travel back over those places it's gone before. So it's still treading over what we've known, but we're re-solidifying what we reviewed so that we can push forward and be ready to run in March.
With Mercury retrograde, I usually have a particularly tough time with pre-shadow and the beginning of retrograde. And then it seems to I don't know, maybe because I start paying attention, you know what I mean? Maybe but I don't, that's the pattern that I usually see. But I mean, I don't place any bets until we're out of post shadow because I know. But does that make sense? Or do we all have kind of a different relationship, you think?
We will all have a different relationship. And so this is not necessarily something we're going to get into in the workshop, but to give a reason behind that is that upon our birth, Mercury is at a specific place in the sky. And so there's potential that maybe he's only a few days from stationing either retrograde or direct in your birth chart. And so that's why that chunk of time for you feels either better or worse.
More intense. Yeah, more
Yes,
intense.
because it's rekindling what you know. That's usually where it feels symbiotic for you. And then when you get to the point that is not for yourself, then that's where you start to feel a little like, what's happening? How come? I didn't know I was going to get stuck in a traffic jam today out on I-95. So
yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. And then, so we're going to have, oh, by the way, this last year, there was that time when we had like a million planets in retrograde, but particularly when Saturn was in retrograde, I have never been angrier for no freaking reason. And I was so angry at myself for being angry. I was like, I had no patience and so much temper. And I didn't take it out on anyone, except for like my car once. Like, but
yes. I like to
that.
take it out on my weeds in the garden.
That's good. That's good. That's productive. That was hard. That was a hard time. And so, but now we have like the opposite of that in a sense, since we have so much of the direct planets for about 3 months, right?
3 months.
About 3 months. Wow.
Yes.
That's exciting. Thank you. That with my solar chart. Now I'm like, I know I got March and April. I'm going to be hitting it.
Yeah, as you rightfully should, especially with the Aries too, because the Aries, again, that initiator energy, get it going, get it started. The one thing I do want to say to you though, with having that Aries energy is don't feel committed to complete everything.
Oh, well, I already don't. I already can't. I got to give that up, that disappointment that we reflectors are wont to.
Oh, true.
Yeah. I'd rather let myself be surprised at the things that I do complete.
Oh, I like that.
Well, I'm trying. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but that's good for us, I think.
The Aries energy is always about starting things, and that's where Taurus comes in after it and continues it. It sustains it. So Aries are not there to be the sustainer. So a lot of people who are Aries find a fault in themselves for not sustaining things, but that's not your energy. So
I'm just thinking of my Aries folks. My friend Aiden, he like his old business partner, they would start a project like with a new client, and he'd be like, we're going to do this. And his partner would turn to the client and said, you need to be writing this down. This is what you're paying him for. And he's still like that. And then also Olivia Ray, who's been on the podcast before and will be on again soon. She's Aries and she helps me out. And I just checked in with her. I was like, hey, you know that thing that you were going to do for me? And she's like, yeah, I did it the first week, but I forgot. Can you? Which I'm not mad at her at all. But it's that thing, like she's finding a flaw in herself. Like, I want to do it, but can we remind me or something? I remember to start it, but to sustain it, I need help with.
And that's exactly it. And so my suggestion is that you find yourself a really good earth friend.
Yeah. Well, her name is Crystal Compton.
And
she's a Taurus.
Yes. And they will plod through. They will keep things going because that's their type energy, that sustained energy. Yeah.
Well, and that, their sun sign. And then of course I'm a water sign, is my sun sign. So yeah, I could use some earth because otherwise I'm just flowing everywhere. I don't have a vessel. But then I have my Capricorn moon, whom I love so much. She takes such good care of me.
I'm so glad to hear that.
What's your moon?
My moon is Aquarius.
Oh,
my moon was yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I enjoy about my moon is I have an ability to detach and become the observer pretty well.
That's my husband's Aquarius sun. So, oh yeah. Yeah. But that's such a comfort to me because I am so attached. So it feels really good when having a partner who can detach. And then I'm like, oh yes, I don't have to hold, you don't have to like be apart. and I can get good feedback, get good neutral feedback. Although sometimes when I need subjective feedback,
you're not going to get it. No.
Right. I'm like, one time I asked him, I was like, I didn't feel good. And I was like, oh, am I like the fattest girl in the world today?
Oh.
And he goes, the fattest girl in the world today? And I was like, that's the wrong answer. But
I was like, the sky's really pretty. It's blue outside. Did you see that?
Oh no, but anyway, I do love, I mean, I guess I could gush about all of I'm sure you could too, gush about all of the signs, right? And there's no bad chart, there's no bad sign. It's all beautiful.
There are not. It's just the shapes that you get and the interactions that they form. And in the end, it comes back around, and I'll bring it back to those cycles again. So when we are given the opportunity at this point, and I'll use Saturn just because he does a very predictable thing. So between the ages of 28 and 30, we have something called a Saturn return. And that's our main big pivot points in life. So at 28 to 30, you're usually buying a house, getting married, having a kid, taking off in your career, a lot of the really big moving parts in your life. And then again at 60-ish, 56 to 59, we're approaching the next change in life where have we completed everything we wanted to do? And then the little pieces in between are asking, okay, and that'll be on 7-year increments. Do you still want to do what you're doing right now, or do you want to change it up? And then it'll come around to the opposing side. And it's like, all right, again, option exists. We're going to give you this scenario. Do you still want to be doing what you're doing, or are we changing it up? So,
well, but you know that, of course, that we replace all of the cells of our body approximately every 7 years. Isn't that it's fascinating, right? The correlation.
In my double Virgo analytical mind, I'm like, how does that happen? Which ones are being regenerated every day? How does that not let us break down completely into? So, yeah.
Well, we also, not only that, but every 24 hours, we completely shed our epidermis, the most topical layer. So every 24 hours.
Thing?
That's what I've heard. Yes, I'm not a scientist, but that is what I've heard. No, but just the most superficial layer. You know what I mean?
Huh.
And so that means it's a brand new day. I have a brand new approach every single day, every 24 hours. Not only that, but I've left myself all over the place for the last I'm everywhere. My consciousness is still attached to those.
Enjoy the essence of me.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Okay, so let's now. I could geek out. I know how to. You're like my drama teacher teaching me geometry. Like I get astrology with you, I think.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, I get it with my other astrologer friends too. But anyway, so what are some of the services you do? I want to talk about, what you offer, classes, all the things that you're doing, how people can interact with you, and the kinds of work that you offer people.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. So I am an astrologer, and I do like to focus on the solar return charts so that we can set you up to the tool that we're going to give you is to understand the energy and how to plan it. But if you want to know even more about how things are going to play out, we can dive deep. And that's kind of where I was talking about those layers of math. We can get to the calculus level. We don't just have to stay at the algebra level. And then there's also birth chart readings, and we can work on a little combination of both as well. I do also offer cacao ceremonies that I do on full moons over Zoom, and then locally on new moons. And I also teach Reiki. And so that is another offering that I do, but I only do those locally. I don't do those online.
You teach it, so you attune people and certify them and everything as Reiki practitioners? Wonderful.
Yeah, I have a Reiki 3 class coming up next week. And
oh, great.
Learning the tools and how to play with the energy, which brings that back to the astrology and really working with the energy of what's going on in your chart and how that plays out.
And where is local? You do those?
I am in Michigan. And so the Dearborn, Ann Arbor, Southeast Michigan area.
All right, cool. And you as I mean, I think all astrologers are intuitive, but you're very intuitive as you guide people in the charts whichever charts. So do you do also composites and transits and those different kinds of readings?
I tend to focus on whatever the client needs, but I am not an electional astrologer. So to actually physically choose the date of a marriage or a business launch or a book launch or something like that, there is a specific sector of astrology called electional astrology.
Ooh. Okay.
And so that type of astrologer can help you pinpoint an exact time that you want to do something. And so that is one part that I don't do. And then synastry, I think you mentioned as well. Okay. And that's where a couple comes together and you look at their charts. And I don't have any formal training with that. But again, it's looking at one individual and the other individual. If you're trying to decide whether this is the right person or not, we can definitely talk about things.
Look at that. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Great. Wow, that's really awesome. So I'm just having the best time with you, but I feel like we need to at some point stop reflecting and get back to and sometimes the moon has to go to sleep, right?
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of, I did not last night, but
you didn't sleep last night?
So powerful. Well, I had a cacao ceremony last night, and when you have cacao, well, cacao just brings in natural energy for me, and it's like a humming connection with Mama Gaia, and we stayed up for quite a while last night. It was,
and you're not tired? You okay?
No, I'm not tired today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we will have to. Okay, so the full moon cacao ceremonies are on Zoom, so we definitely want to check that out. And you recommend where people can buy their cacao? Is it like an online resource?
Yes, I have a link that I can hook you up with, and then I have a video that shows you how to make it. And then if you want to have a one-on-one with me and actually make the cup together, we can do that as well.
So much fun. Okay, Alicia, is there anything else you want to share as we wrap this up?
I do not believe so.
Okay. Well, this
I'm just so excited.
Me too. I can't wait for the workshop again, everyone. It's February 26th and 27th. We have the link in the description, everyone. This is Alicia Clark-Teper. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much, Tricia. Such a wonderful opportunity to get to know you a little better, as well as hopefully be able to empower those who find this workshop in tune with them.
I'm sure they will. Absolutely. Empowerment. That is the right word. Empowered by the cosmos. That's the name.
Empowered by the cosmos. Exactly.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Tricia.
Okay. So Alicia and I are both reflectors. That's our human design type. And that's exciting for us, not just because we, we're reflectors. It's only 1% of the population. So some people who are into human design don't know any reflectors or they don't know if they know reflectors because, not everyone's into human design or knows what their birth information is, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, it's exciting for us because it's kind of cool to meet another reflector. It's cool to meet all of them, though. Oh my gosh, I have so many manifesting generators in my life. I have a few manifestors too, and I just love them all. Just like there is no boring or bad or uninteresting astrological chart, there's no boring, bad, or uninteresting human design type or chart. So if you know what I'm talking about with human design, check out Jovian Archive. That's how you can pull your design type. You can start to work with your aura type as well as your strategy and authority. And it's really fun and exciting. So that's Alicia. That's Alicia Clark-Teper. I hope you had as much fun hearing about astrology and everything exciting with Alicia. And I hope that you will also join the Mystic Arts Academy, which is the twice monthly workshop platform, plus meditation downloads, plus trance activations. Check it out. Description is below. And of course, the Lightshine Academy. Alicia is one of our teachers. She teaches astrology. Crystalline Compton and I are always offering immersive programs, workshops. And so do check out the description to find what's coming up next in the Lightshine Academy. And With that, thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.